much time as you need, Chief. Clock behind you.
Right.
I'll catch y'all.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brent. I'm a recovered alcoholic.
Hey, Brent.
It's an honor to be here this evening. It's an honor to be here this evening. To come out here in no man's land to speak. Let me see here. My sobriety date is February 3rd, 2016. Just picked up a year not too long ago. I have a sponsor. I have a home group. It's a Pleasant Valley Group in Eastern Point, Pleasant, West Virginia. On Monday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. By the grace of God, I found that home group. I was born in Rochester, New York. So don't laugh at me when I talk about things like cows and bobcats and things of that nature. I've never seen the stuff. But I grew up in New York with my mother and stepfather. At a young age, I was exposed to alcohol. My parents owned a bar. I was only a child and wanted a babysitter, so I frequent their job. I was there a lot. I remember at a young age walking around drinking, picking up drinks off the table. Can't honestly say that's when alcoholism set in, but I do, have early memories of this poison. It led from drinking there to, as I got a little older, sneaking in the refrigerator in the middle of the night, get a sip of that cold beer. I'm going to do this a lot because I sweat. But I remember at a young age, in and out the refrigerator. I don't know why, but it was just, I would bypass the Kool-Aid and the milk, and that bottle just attracted me, and what was in it was even better to me. So, I have very young memories of drinking, alcohol, and I grew up in a very abusive home, not from my mother, but from stepfather. There was a lot of physical and verbal abuse. My mom, he whooped on my mom a lot, and me as well. So at a young age, I learned to sneak and drink. I learned violence, and I learned lack of respect for women, at a young age. And as my story progressed, it took a toll in my life. It took part of my life. I adapted those things that I learned at an early age and carried them out throughout my life up until the point that a year ago. It's also, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. It's also a blessing to be here today because a little over a year ago, I was standing on a bridge ready to take my life because of this disease. And I'm here today standing in front of you guys tonight and speaking. And, it's definitely a God thing. But, as life progressed, I'm not going to spend a lot of time in the details on the stuff that happened. We're all alcoholics. We, our stories, we know. But I have 7 children, and I neglected every last responsibility with all 7 of those children up until now. But, they were exposed to the violence in the home. They were exposed to the alcohol at an early age. They were exposed to the neglect, the abandonment issues. I have a son right now who's starting off the path that I started off on, and I see it because now I'm free and I can identify it. But there was a lot of abuse. There was a lot of disrespect toward women. There was a lot of neglect toward the people that cared about me. There was a lot of pain. I hurt anybody that got close to me. That's the way my life took off. It was a progressive spiral. Things got worse. I took on some other things in my life, to mix with the alcohol. But alcohol was always there. That was my problem. And in and out of juvenile, in and out of adult jails, in and out of my children's lives. in and out of my mom's life, my kid's life. You know, I'm talking about some of the pain from the direct result of my alcoholism. I had a nephew that was just murdered in 2015, and my sister entrusted me to raise this kid, and I showed him all the wrong things. I can't say that his death was my fault, but he definitely wanted to be like his uncle, and as a result of that, he was riding the car and somebody shot him and threw him on the side of the road like garbage. My only nephew, my sister's only son, and I use that situation to make it about me. You know, it was poor me. I didn't think about nobody else because I was such an alcoholic. I didn't care about nobody else. I didn't care about the pain that my sister just went through losing her only son. I cared about the fact that somebody murdered my nephew, and that was an excuse for me to drink. As I go through, my recovery, I realized I didn't need a bad day to get drunk. It was good days, bad days, cold days, sunny days. It didn't matter. Back then, it was always somebody done something to me. It was always their fault. That's the reason why I did what I did. Somebody else ticked me off, or somebody else took something from me. But I come to realize that I was the one taking from everybody. I'm the one that took from me. I'm the one that took from everybody that absolutely cared about me. And I grew up complaining because I didn't have the name brand shoes in school. I didn't have the best clothes in school. I didn't have two parents. We didn't have the best looking car. But we had a car. I had a mom. My mom gave me everything I needed. She didn't offer me everything I wanted. She gave me everything I needed. And, so therefore I can say that I had a good childhood. After my stepdad left, I had a pretty decent childhood. I'm the oldest of two brothers and one sister. I have one brother that suffers from schizophrenia. One brother that's still out there trying to find his troops. And my sister is struggling with the death of her son still, to this day. But I have my youngest son is 3, and this is like the biggest part of my story. My youngest son is 3, and a year ago, I had a 3-year-old kid homeless out in the dead of winter because of my alcoholism. I chose to drink instead of paying bills. I chose to neglect anything important because I wanted to drink. I lost a place, and we ended up in a homeless shelter in Parkersburg, West Virginia. And I guess they have rules there. You're not supposed to drink. Go figure. But so I decided that I'm grown. You can't tell me what I can't do. I just lost my place. You know what I mean? That poor me pity pot thing. I deserve a drink. So I drank, and if you drink like I did, I drank. And I drank to the point to where I was offered a breathalyzer test because I was that intoxicated coming through the doors. And I refused. And as a result of that, me and my son and my son's mother were put out on the street. We ended up in another shelter. By this time, I'm really upset, and I really need another drink. So this time, I drunk extra hard. And I went there. It was like a room about this many people there, and I invited everybody to fight. Wasn't a good idea because everybody stood up at once. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was going to give it a shot, but, so I was escorted out of there by the police. But in August of 2015, this is the insanity of my alcoholism. August of 2015, I was diagnosed with pancreatitis. And I was told at that time if I stopped drinking, it could be reversed. I wouldn't suffer from it forever. So, for me, once again, I got bad news. I need a drink. So I drank for 6 months heavy. For 6 months. to the point to where my pancreatitis started necrotizing. My pancreas started necrotizing, which means it started eating itself. So I ended up with chronic necrotizing pancreatitis, which hospitalized me. In the last 18 months, I've been in the hospital over 70 times for this condition. Because, I was told by a medical professional, it tells in the book that those pleas not even, not enough to help. And I was told by a medical professional if I stopped then, I would be okay. But it wasn't enough for me. I had this disease. I had this obsession, and I had a spiritual malady. So I decided that I was going to drink it away, and I made it worse. Here recently, I was just told I got 3 to 5 years to live because of this condition. But I'm gonna tell you how good God is. When I first after the pancreatitis got worse, I was rushed to the hospital because of an episode, and the doctors x-rayed me and told me I had pancreatic cancer, which is a certain death sentence. That's 6 months, up to 6 months to live. By this time, well, let me back up a little bit. My 3-year-old son, I put him through all this pain and misery, and by this time, I'm starting to get done with it. I'm starting to feel something that I don't want to do this, but physically I have to. Mentally, I feel like I have to, so I don't want to drink no more, but I can't not drink. So the best thing I could do was send them back to Columbus. And that's what I did. I sent my son's mom. Now, this wasn't a healthy relationship anyway. I sent my son's mom and my son back to Columbus. And I started getting depressed, and I started getting so desperate to not drink that I was walking one day thinking of ways to kill myself, and I ended up walking up on this bridge in Parkersburg on 5th Street, and I looked down, and it was far enough dip, and I know it was ice over it. And this is how bad I just wanted to disappear. I didn't want to die. I didn't want nobody to mourn my loss. I didn't want nobody to feel no more pain. I just wanted to disappear. So I figured if I jumped in this certain spot, I would get under the ice, and my body would float up wherever, and they would never find it. And I climbed up on this bridge with all these intentions of doing this. And God intervened. And this is when I first recognized today, when God started working when I started recognizing Him working in my life. My phone rang, and while I'm on top of the bridge, getting ready to die, kill myself, I decided to answer this phone. It's God. And I climbed down off this bridge, and me back, then I was dishonest, full of false pride, So I was talking to a family member. They asked me how I was doing. I said, perfect. I'm doing great. On top of a bridge. So that allowed me enough time to, think a little bit more. And I just started walking. And I'm like I said, I'm from New York. I lived in Columbus for a little bit. And I don't know nothing about the country. I don't know nothing about West Virginia. I don't know nothing about Parkersburg. I don't know nothing. I don't know that there's help available. I'm walking, and I see a hospital. In my mind, I'm going to go in this hospital and try to get somewhere to lay down for a few days to get my mind cleared. And that's what I was going in the hospital to tell them. When I got in the hospital, God stepped in again, because when I walked in there, the words that I was thinking didn't come out of my mouth. When I got in there, I said, I'm dying. I want to kill myself. I need help. That's what came out of my mouth, and the people looked at me, and they rushed me back to the back, put an armed guard outside my door, stripped me of my clothes, and started asking me questions. And by this time, I was done. So I just started telling the truth. I was tired of lying, I couldn't lie no more. I couldn't drink no more. I couldn't even die. So something had to give. And I started telling these people everything. Stuff that happened to me when I was 5, 6 years old, I started telling these people. And I'm sure they probably didn't, when they asked a question, they didn't want to know everything I told them, but it had to come out of me. So I got up in this thing called behavioral health unit where I was monitored for my mental stability, and I went into DTs, bad, so where I almost died, and they put me on so much crap, so much medicine to stabilize me because I couldn't eat, I couldn't hold a cup, I couldn't hold a pencil, I couldn't hold a conversation. Um, so they got me stable, and somebody came in that place Saturday or Sunday, and it was AA. And I didn't really listen to it. I just got in there, and I heard somebody in there say something about not drinking. And I was like, got my attention. So I asked, what do I have to do? And they told me you got to call treatment facilities if you don't want to do this anymore. And by the time, when you get ready to get released from here, then you go straight into something. And I was willing to do anything at this point in time. My son was gone. My house was gone. My dignity was gone. My self-respect was gone. I wanted to do something. So I ended up in this treatment center called Amity. And thank God for this place because that's where my journey began. This is how I ended up where I am today because I got in this place. And I mean, let's face it, when I got here, I was worried about prejudice stuff going on because I'm in the country. I'm from the city, and you don't see many people my color around. And I was worried about that. But I tell you what, I really didn't care. I needed to figure out what was wrong with Brent at this point in time. And I didn't care who brought it to me or how I got it. I grew up with a idea of God, and I knew that God did good things in people's lives. And I had this mindset that I was a sinner, and I couldn't be forgiven for the stuff that I'd done. But I also seen people. I heard people's stories that were done stuff, and they were living happy lives, and that's what I wanted. So I went through this treatment center, and I'm not saying I was cured then, because for some reason God steps back in. And I didn't realize this at this time. It was a poor pity pot then. But 4 days before I was supposed to graduate or get done with this program, I ended up sick again to the point where I had to end up in the hospital up at OSU up in Columbus. I went in that hospital. I was supposed to go to a long-term program at the end of my stay there, and I ended up in the hospital, and I think in end of March, maybe. End of March, beginning of April. End of March. And I didn't end up getting out of the hospital until July 9th. Different complications, different things happened. I had caught septic shock, I died in the hospital from septic shock. And this day when I died, I was sober for about 4 or 5 months, and I went and I started having seizures real bad, and the only thing I can remember was the nurse on the side of me. They called for the ERT, and they're pumping stuff in my IV, and they can't get me to respond. And people say they die and they see this bright light. It wasn't a bright light, but it was a light. And I made my peace with God. I told him, I was like, listen, I'm ready, and I was ready because I was in so much pain, and I done hurt so many people, and I didn't know that there was ever a way to make up for that. And I woke up 3 days later in the ICU. So, from this Amity program I was in, they give you a list of long-term facilities. And I started calling these facilities before I left, and I was accepted to one that was opening in Mason County. I was supposed to be the first one there. And this is a good story. I was supposed to be the first one there, and I ended up getting sick. But I met this lady. I never met her. I talked to this lady on the phone, and she knew that I didn't make it because I was in the hospital. This lady calls the hospital up in Columbus from Point Pleasant, checks on me. When I get out the hospital, she tells me to call every week, to check in with her until she get another bed open. She offered me a place there 3 times, but I kept calling all the other places, and nobody would nobody had any help for me. No, everybody was full. Nobody could do this. So you had to have a job to get there. And you know, at this time I can't work. You know, I'm physically incapable of working. And I kept calling this one place, and this is God stepping into my life. And I kept calling this place, and it's in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. I never heard of this place. This is funny. I Googled this thing, and it said the only way to get there was drive, walk, or ride a bike. There was no public transportation. So I don't know. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be there. I never heard of it. But for some reason, I kept getting directed to this place. And I called this lady after I got out of the hospital, and she told me to be there on a certain date, July 3rd or 4th, or the 5th or something like that. And I couldn't make it. So I called her a couple days later, and I'm like, listen, because I'm staying at my mother's house with my stepfather. She's married again. He's active and drinking right now. And it wasn't the fact that I wanted to drink, because I'm just dying from this disease because of the pancreatitis. But I knew it wasn't done yet, because I have not found out who Brent was yet. So I called this place, and this lady asked me if I could be there. I told her I'll try, and I never made it. So she gave me another date to be there, July. I don't remember exact dates, but anyway, I didn't make it. I was supposed to be there at 9 a.m. 9:15, my phone rings, and it's this lady. Hey, where you at? And I'm like, I'm still in Columbus. And she's like, what are you doing there? I was like, listen, you know, I'm sorry for wasting your time. I really want to get there. I just don't have a way. She was like, well, can you get to Parkersburg? I had $20 for about 5 or 6 months. I had this $20. I couldn't spend it. I had nothing to spend it on. And a bus ticket from Columbus to Parkersburg was $17.50. And she asked me if I can get to Parkersburg, she'd come pick me up. Never met me. People don't trust me. She's going to come pick me up. So that's what I did. Now, that house that I walked from, where I did all my drinking and partying at, to where it is, I walked across that bridge, that was the only place I had to stay until she can come pick me up. So I stayed there. I sat up all night. I didn't close my eyes, because I was not going to miss this ride. Because for some reason, this lady's coming to get me. I'm supposed to be there. I stayed up all night. They were drinking and partying all around me. It doesn't bother me. I got a one-track mind. I got to get out of here. She calls at 5:30 in the morning, says, I'm outside. I couldn't get out that door no faster, man. I think I tore my bags, everything, trying to get out that door. But I got in there and I got loaded up. And we're riding, and we get about, I don't know, half hour into the ride, and I look over. I said, where you taking me? Because these roads is just like, I'm in this country, cell phone and lost service. I don't know where I see a bunch of deer. I don't know where I'm going. But I get there, and you know, my first sponsor, he keeps telling me about this guy in Point Pleasant. I guess I didn't know where he was at, but and I heard the guy speak before, and he kept telling me about this guy, to get with this guy. I'm like, all right. So I get here, I get to this place, and I get in there, and I'm a firm believer in God, and this is my high power God. We don't call him, I call him God, because he works in my life, and this is him working in my life up to right this moment now. I get in this place, and there's required meetings. Ironically, there's a meeting right next door to the house, which is my first meeting. I walk in there, and I hear this guy's voice, and I'm like, that dude sounds familiar, you know? And I get to another meeting, and he asked me a question, said something to me now, and I was like, are you crying, Ryan? He was like, yeah. And I'm like, will you sponsor me? And he asked me a couple questions. How am I willing to go to England for my sobriety? Am I willing to go to England for my spiritual experience? And I said yes. And this man sat down with me, and he helped me find my truths. And I'm forever grateful for that. That God directed me into that building, that group, because when I got in there, I could have been the man from the moon. They did not care. They welcomed me with open arms. that was family. When I walked in that door, I was home. And we got in that work, and getting into that work helped me understand the reason why things in my life was happening, the reason why everything that happened, I turned it into me, because I'm selfish and self-centered. You know, it's all about me. You know, we get through the steps, get through the work, and you know, and this man, he is man, him and his wife invites me over for dinner one day, and it's just, I'm comfortable, but I'm uncomfortable, because, you know, I'm sitting there eating, and I'm like, I had these trust issues growing up, and I'm, what's in this food? First of all, I mean, not poison. I'm thinking they trying to slip some deer meat on me. You know, I'm not messing with it. So, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm eating. And I just got to be honest. I look over and tell him, I said, man, people don't invite me to their house, man. People just don't do that. And he looked at me and said, well, buddy, you're family. And I knew right then and there, this is a journey that I'm going to stay on. I got through this work. This man calls me and says, hey, where I'm going. I don't get in the car and say, where are we going? How long is it going to take to get there? Except for when we come out here. But I just get in the car. I mean, I've had spiritual experience after one another. God has just been working so well in my life. My son that I was telling you about, he's locked up right now. The one that's Brent Jr., and he's following my steps, but I don't know, man. Is it appropriate to read this? I got a letter from my son yesterday. And, I mean, it was just, I just read it. If y'all don't mind. It says, hey, Dad, how you doing? So I'm starting to get on the right track and stop AWOLing and fighting and get my levels and go home. I've been wanting to see my little brother. I miss you. Can you send me some pictures? He said, but I don't know where I'm going to go when I discharge from here. But all I know is when I leave, I'm going to get off the streets. And I'm going to get a decent job and save up some money to start my independent life skills. But in here, I just got to maintain sobriety and get off probation and attend AA meetings. But I think I'm going to stop smoking. But being in here longer will keep me sober. I have not opened up the staff in here. All I do is act up so I can stay here, away from Columbus and the drugs. But they think I'm just acting up for laughs. But I'm going to talk to them because they're here to help me, not hurt me. I really don't want to get put up for adoption, so I need to open up. But I just feel like there's nothing I can do in life. So I just tell people I'm going to throw my life away. But people tell me just because I went to the detention center doesn't mean you can't be nothing, because you're only 15 years old. I have not even lived half of my life. I just wish we were all back together. Just read the last bit of it. It says, Dad, I love you so much, and I thank you for all you've done, for all God have done, and I could do anything in my life. Love, Brent Jr. When this letter came to me, you know, I was feeling bad about myself because, I mean, this is me, because when I was his age, I self-destructed because I was scared to face things. And for him to tell me that the reason why he's doing the things he's doing in jail is because he's scared, I get it. I get it. But you know, one good thing about having a relationship with God is that I can offer him some hope. I can be a father to that boy today. I can guarantee him a life to where he does not have to be on the streets and he does not have to go up for adoption, because I can be a father today. And that's through the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's through sponsorship. That's through this big book of alcoholics. That's from friends and family like you guys. You know, I'm in this home, and like I told you guys, Thank you for letting me share that letter. I was supposed to be the first person there. I ended up being number 5 or 6. And in this time, I've been there 7 months. In this time, there's been at least 20 some guys in and out of there. I'm the first person to graduate this program. And it hasn't even been open a year yet. It'll be open a year next month. I graduated January 10th. They won't let me leave. They still keeping me around for some reason. I don't. People like me today. I don't know. I guess. But you know, that's through the grace of God. You know, because I graduated a program before, a 6-month program before, and when I got that piece of paper, I thought that's all I needed to not be considered an F up for the rest of my life. But I could drink now because I had 6 months off. It doesn't work like that. This is something I have to do for the rest of my life. AA and sponsorship is the generator. Batteries die. I need something that's constantly running because the alcoholic of my type, if I get resting on my own laurels and get locked on my spiritual connection, my higher power, my God, if I get big-headed, don't stay right size, I know today in these rooms there's no big me and little yous. I know that. I go anywhere into a meeting and speak because I don't fear about people judging me because of my skin color, because you know what? I'm free today. I'm free because of this program. And if that's the only thing people got to think about, perhaps they should go out and try some controlled drinking. Because there's so much more to it. You know, I met Ty, man, and had good conversations with this guy, man. Had some good conversations with a lot of you guys. Jonathan, you know, my sponsee back there, he's starting to get in the boat. Joe wakes me up every morning. But it's a good wake up because perhaps I should be up praying and meditating. So I do. Stan, you know, good people, man. And it's family. Steve, you know, we had a good conversation, man. This was a weekend ago? 2 weekends ago. Seemed like yesterday, buddy. It's you know, I get to enjoy. I get to do this stuff today, man. When I get up in the morning, or my sponsor knocks on the door, or my sponsor calls me, and it's not like, oh my God. I get to talk to this man today. I get to sit down and go through the work with this kid today. I get to watch miracles happen in his life. I get to see bobcats on the way here. Yeah. I'm still waiting to see the morph, man, but I'm cool if I never do. If I never do, I'm fine with that. But you know, I get to get up here and talk about the pain because I'm no longer living in that today. I'm no longer living in that today. I am free, honestly. I have a great relationship with God. Things are working out the way that I don't have everything I want. I got everything I need. Everything I need. There's nothing I need that I don't have. I stay right sides, you know, because I know my ego from doing the 4th step, you know, doing the inventory and listing these character defects. And there's a lot in there. Yeah, it's a lot. But knowing those character defects, you know, I found out me. You know, I found out the truths about myself. I found out the reason why I hurt everybody. I found out the reason why I like the effect produced by alcohol. I found out the reason why I was a manipulator, a womanizer, an absent father. I found out all the reasons why I was that. And because I found that out, I don't have to ever do that again. And the best part about all this is I found out from a man telling me and showing me in this book, in walking the walk and introducing me to people that do this deal, that I don't never have to drink again. That's like music to my ears. Because alcohol is killing me. Even though I haven't had a drink in over a year, it's killing me. But I know I don't have to pick back up. Because my God, I got to step back again. When I was diagnosed with that pancreatic cancer, this mass on my pancreas that everybody, they shipped me from Camden Clark to Morgantown to Marietta to Belpre to OSU to Mount Carmel to OSU, and nobody would touch it. So by this time, I'm in the zone. I'm rolling. I'm finding out I'm getting free, and I go back to see my doctor, and I get an extra CAT scan, and the doctor comes in there and he looks at me and he's just like, so I don't know what happened, but the cancer's gone. I didn't have not one treatment. I didn't take one pill. I didn't even worry about it. They told me, and I said, well, I got to be the best I can be before it takes me out. I got to be a father. I got to be a son. I got to be a friend before it takes me out. That was 7 months ago. Just went to the pain doctor recently. I'm going to have a, what's it called? Nerve stimulator. Spine cord stimulator implanted in my back, which is going to block me from having all this pain. I'm in constant pain daily, all day, every day. Like I said, I've been in the hospital over 70-some times. And there's nothing the hospital can do but mask it with pain pills. So I'm getting this thing implanted in my back, and it's supposed to last for the rest of my life. That's God working in my life, man, because, I could have took those pain pills and then had another fight. I don't have to do that. And that's because of a man sat down and told me that I don't have to live that pain and that misery no more. I don't have to live in that dark. And I don't today. And I just want to thank y'all for letting me share my story. I'm Brent B, and I'm done.
Woo! That's some good stuff, man. I think I'm gonna leave my comments for the end. No, I ain't gonna.